Um, Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to rock and roll. Let me welcome you all to this session this morning. We are ready to move on with our program. I trust that you had a good evening yesterday. For those of you that managed to attend the networking session, I am sure that you managed to let your head down a little bit and relax and rest, and that you are starting the day refreshed and ready to tackle the day. It is an interesting day. It's an important day, day 2 of our conference, and I know and I see that we are going to be having a good day, having looked at the program. Our program today is starting with a plenary panel discussion, which will be led by Advocate Mgaleli, which already some of the members are up here, and Advocate will join us in a moment. I just want to get my bearings here, pardon me, in terms of where we are. So in the panel, the title of the panel is Ensuring Policy Alignment, Strategies and Best Practices. That's what we will be focusing on during this panel. There are 4 panel members, and the Advocate will be taking us and engaging them. At the end, towards the tail end of the discussion, there will be an opportunity for us to engage in a Q&A with the panelists. Immediately after that, we will have a tea break. We're going to try and stick to time by all means necessary. So at 10:30, we will stop for tea break. At 10:45, we'll be starting with the 3 breakaway sessions that are going to run concurrently. The first breakaway session is on GNU priorities, economic imperatives, industry requirements, and that will be led by Mr. Ntlangano. It will be in committee room number 4, the first one on your left as you get out of the door. And then we will be having breakaway session 2 in the big auditorium on critical policy directives, which will be led by Ms. Mbonzi. And then in the room just outside this door, as you go through this door, we will be having discussion on optimizing policy management for effective implementation, and it will be led by Mr. Juili. And when they finish at 2:30, we'll have a short break, 15-minute break for coffee and teas, and then at 3:15, we will be having we will be having a closing keynote address by Mr. Bikisha. And his topic or his theme is measuring policy efficacy, tools and matrix for continuous improvement. So that's our program for today, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure that you are, like me, looking forward to hearing and getting the inputs for today. Without further ado, let me ask Advocate Mgaleli to come in front and lead his panel. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, the panelists, program director, the plenary. Good morning once more. Today, I should think day 2 of the proceedings of this conference, and we're going to be dealing with the hot potato in the sector as well as in the country, the policy issues. We started yesterday, and throughout the proceedings yesterday, you could sense that things are not well in terms of the principles of legality in the sector, the regulatory frameworks. There is a lot of disjuncture from head office, regional, college level. A lot of gaps were identified. And we all know colleagues and delegates. If you are driving a car which is out of alignment, you know what happened. You know when you brake, what happened. You know when you are holding your steering wheel, what is happening. From yesterday's discussion, I should think it gives me a sense that in terms of policy, we are like driving a car that needs to be put in a service center so that its wheels can be aligned. Its front suspension can be aligned. Its tires can be aligned. I should think the panel today is going to address and take us from misalignment and align us. Because at the end of the day, a policy is a tool, is a regulatory framework, which is expressed in the strategic objectives of the colleges, of the department, the 4 strategic objectives. If we talk of expansion, what are our policies saying? Is there coordination in our policies? Are our policies aligned? If you take off a registration policy of a college, if you talk of a debt policy of a college, do those policies talk the same thing? DP registrar wants so many students to be registered. DP Finance is saying this college has debt. So there will be students that will be excluded. That's misalignment. We talk of recruitment. Students sit in their college for a term without lecturers, which means DP Academic and DPC, there is no coordination, because DPA is busy with, is concerned about curriculum delivery. DPC, he wants compliance with the recruitment policy. Disjuncture, misalignment. So the panel is going to deal with the ensuring the policy, alignment, and strategies and best practices. How can we cure this in the sector? How can we cure the disjuncture that one council member, I should think Dr. Potela, talks about yesterday, between council and the ministry or the department and the college? Council has been given responsibility to govern the college. But the authority sits elsewhere in Pretoria. Do they have the power to govern? That will be answered. That's the question we need to ask ourselves. So we'll be aligning today, discussion will be aligning, and what will be the strategies And in the briefing this morning, we were told that we need to stick to the script. We had a briefing this morning, we need to stick to the script because the content that must come out of this conference must address these misalignment so that there can be harmony in the sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to introduce the panelists and the focus areas they are going to talk to. We have Mr. Nkai, who will be focusing on stakeholder engagement. By show of hand. Thank you. Can you put hands for her? For him. We have Ms. Maduna, who will be doing monitoring and evaluation, but I can see there's Mrs. Yukutwana. You're doing monitoring and evaluation. Put up your hands so that they can see you. We have our doctor, Dr. Keza, who will be doing, focusing on the data-driven decision-making. Ms. Tifinga, I don't yet, he has already joined us. Oh, yes. And then lastly, we have Ms. Nkumalo, who will be dealing with the capacity building within the sector. And the context of their focus areas will be on policy alignment. Will be on policy alignment. Then the approach will be to encourage, they will encourage a lively and open discussion. There will be a lively and open discussion, and they will identify areas of policy development which need is needed, and outline actionable steps that can be taken to address the identified gaps since yesterday and even from their presentation. Now I've already introduced them, then I'm getting to the point. You are welcome, all of you in this session. Plenary panelists are also welcome. Plenary are also welcome. Let's listen attentively. We'll open engagement after their presentation. But I'll start with you, Mr. Nkai, panelist number 1. And I'll pose this question to you. How can effective stakeholder engagement contribute to ensuring policy alignment in the TVET sector?
Thank you very much, Advocate. The name is Ndumzanywa. I think need to remove the name of Ms. Nkai. I'm replacing Ms. Nkai from DHET. I'm currently placed at the Office of the DP Corporate Services as an HR coordinator. Now, thank you for your question. Let me just track back a bit to go forward. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, through its subcommittee, which is called where's this thing? Where's my notes? Which is the International Center for Technical, Vocational and Educational Training, are clear that if we are to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 4, we need everyone on board. As a result, in their report, they are clear that in order for us to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, then everyone must be on board. So if this is the goal of the United Nations and South Africa, the NDP, and all the targets, then we surely need everyone to be on board. So where I start is to maybe first unpack who are the stakeholders of our TVETs. I think yesterday we were clear clearly, we had people who were here who shown that they are our stakeholders. We had labor is here already. We have industry, we have students, we have multi-partnerships with different stakeholders. I think when you look at our banner here, it has all the multiple stakeholders who matter to the college, and the college needs them to survive. So the question that you pose says that how can effective stakeholder engagement contribute to ensuring policy alignment? Now, in the stages of policy development, there is that stage of consultation. I think you can't just drop a policy on people like it's rain. They need to be there every step of the way. They need to be involved every step of the way. These stakeholders that we speak of, each one of them has an interest or a different interest towards the college. If we would put these, to make an example, labor would want labor peace, social justice. Labor would want salaries. Labor would want a happy and a stable work environment. So if we talk alignment with them, then we're surely talking that in the development of policies and implementation of policies, they are definitely involved. If we talk the student body, which is a key stakeholder in the college, I can tell you now, every college principal here now and then has a nightmare of student unrest. They are a key stakeholder. I think we are sitting here that different colleges are having student unrest. We must do something. They must be involved. So we have industry, curriculum development. We spoke here yesterday that their interest is that they would want to see what we teach leading to work-ready skills that will plug and play in the industry. So for us as the TVET sector to achieve this one, we need to identify the different needs and priorities. What does government want? What does labor want? What do students want? Okay, one stakeholder before I forget, and I've yet to see, I've been in the sector, I think, for over 10 years now. I haven't seen one meeting where we call parents as a stakeholder. Chances are, when we get their children to come and study with us, they could assist us in solving some of the issues that we have. So we identify needs and priorities. What is important to who? What do students want? Students want to be in the class. So we need to understand, and the policies that we make, they must be involved in the development. The policies we make for labor that govern how we do things, they must be involved in the process. And part of us developing these processes is trying to build consensus. Where are we going? It can't be a win or lose situation. It's not a zero-sum game. We must come to an understanding. We sit down, we reach consensus, and we find how we'll resolve conflict, how we go forward, and also partly inclusive decision making. We create shared ownership and partly monitoring and feedback. All of these would assist in ensuring that policies are aligned and all the stakeholders are involved in all the decisions and all the policies that are being formulated in the college. Thank you, Advocate.
Thank you, Mr. Mzanyo. Mr. Mzanyo, on your stakeholder, you listed some stakeholders for the sector. You also mentioned an example of an initiative engagement initiatives that have led to a successful policy alignment. What are other initiatives except, you mentioned parents.
Sure.
What other initiatives?
Okay. Now, this is not new. People who are in the training sector would understand that South Africa has what is called the NSDS, national skills development strategy. It's been reviewed now and then. I think if I'm correct, we are on NSDS 3 now. That process involved everyone. It involved industry, it involved trade unions, it involved educational institutions, and the different stakeholders that are important to us achieving our objectives. It has happened before. It can happen again, where we sit on a round table and we each offer something to do. So we need to be clear on communicating what we are doing. Let's communicate all the time. We involve people, we put everyone at the center, everyone sits on the table, and everyone has an equal seat in ensuring that whatever policy we try and develop is not later when someone comes up later and says, no, I wasn't involved. It's your policy and your policy only. So to align, get everyone involved, everyone sitting. I'm a church person. One minister in my church says, when speaking about the church, he says, if the church, which is a structure, would burn, who would complain? Who would cry? How effective has the church been to the community and everyone? So I take that question and pose it to the college. If we say we are stakeholders and everyone loves it, if the college would ban, who would cry? Are we serving the community? Are we serving the college? Are we serving everyone? Because if we're not there and no one complains, then it means we have neglected our stakeholders and no one will suffer. I think I've responded, Advocate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we put hands for him? Then I'm taking panelist number 2, Ms. Yukutwane, will be focusing on monitoring and evaluation. Ms. Yukutwane, how can monitoring and evaluation practices be improved to support policy alignment within the TVET sector?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Program Director and Facilitator. Ladies and gentlemen, I actually wish to first bring it to our attention that monitoring and evaluation is a deliberate move by government. Our government looked at the very beautiful programs and policies that have been developed together with very beautiful plans that the country has developed. But unfortunately, you will agree with us that on observation, all that particular good work was not necessarily implemented. Then it made the government in around 2005 to actually approve the government-wide monitoring and evaluation system, which was basically meant for the collection of, in fact, systematic collection of performance information in order for us to be able to evaluate government plans, programs, and policies. And if you look then at that government-wide monitoring and evaluation system, that system has got very good key principles, amongst which there's one that says monitoring and evaluation of predetermined performance objectives must be utilization-oriented, which therefore means when we have planned, when we have developed policies, we must be in a position whereby we can make ourselves accountable and we can enable ourselves to make decisions as implementable as well as very much strategic to assist the implementation of our policies, our plans, and everything else. Therefore then, You will remember that a government on its own tried to run with the issue of monitoring and evaluation by actually encouraging institutions of learning to even develop qualifications on monitoring and evaluation, especially of the public sector. And from that same process, you found that through their process of trying to institutionalize monitoring and evaluation, there were positions that were established within the government sector for us to have the monitoring and evaluation practitioners at various levels. So one of the issues of monitoring evaluation is that the system is driven by the theory of change, whereby when you have come up with a plan, when you have properly monitored your plan, your policy, and you have actually properly implemented or tried to implement anything that you have developed or planned, you actually have to look back and see whether there is a change in what you were trying to achieve. Therefore, facilitator, what actually is taking place currently within the monitoring and evaluation, we actually need to strengthen EM&E by ensuring that, in fact, EM&E has a policy on its own that talks on performance, how we deal with the performance management information in terms of our planned strategic objectives. If you look into that policy, it actually directs us accordingly. But then some kind of improvements, facilitator and colleagues, that may be needed is that we need to actually strengthen from our various angles, some few issues. One of which is our governance through its planning committee that need to ensure that whenever there's monitoring and evaluation that has taken place, the planning committees in the various institutions of government need to ensure that monitoring report is actually presented accordingly. And remember, we need to, as we go and monitor, there's what is expected in the process, that of intervention. So basically, one issue of strengthening that, the issue of monitoring and evaluation is to first ensure that our planning committees focus on the implementation of the performance information policy, as well as the presentations of performance reports within the planning committees of our institutions.
Okay.
If you talk alignment, you will understand that one of the key responsibilities of governance is implementation of policy. In monitoring and evaluation is also taking place within the QMS process, whereby the implementation of policies is actually monitored, and at a certain point in time, we talk about policy reviews to ensure that if functions are actually running smoothly as expected, and we are in a position to deliver on our mandate. I think for now, Chairperson, let me stop there.
Okay, but there are follow-up questions. Maybe you have covered them. But I just want to check the two follow-up questions. What are the key indicators to monitor for assessing police alignment effectiveness?
Thank you very much. Remember, we were saying that monitoring and evaluation basically is there for us to monitor our strategic plans, our national development plans, our policies, and everything else. It definitely means that the key indicator under which this process falls is that of governance within our indicators in the strategy. Hence, you actually have to report through the plan core, everything that has got to do with performance through the strategic plan. Also, Advocate, allow me to say, if then we want to talk a strengthening of monitoring and evaluation, we actually need to commission evaluations. There's absolutely no way that there is no point whereby when you have planned, after, for example, a 5-year period or 10 years, you cannot make an evaluation. Because monitoring during the period of the running of the strategy is not necessarily evaluation. It's monitoring and putting up interventions as you look into the performance of the program. But the ultimate result of monitoring is the commissioning of an evaluation, whereby you look back and ask yourself, where was I? Where was I going? What was I aiming at? Did I necessarily achieve what I planned? So you can only do that through commissioning and evaluation. So evaluation needs to tell you whether there is an impact in what you have implemented through your plan that you have developed or through your policy. It actually measures whether there has been a cost benefit in what you did. And in fact, a lot will come out of the evaluation because it will depend what type of evaluation one will be running. But what is key is the fact that you can't have your plans, your policies, and everything else, and your monitoring and evaluation system, and from there not commission evaluations. That one is very much important. Also, I would actually think there's a very important issue in some of the activities that are key, which is the development of communities of practice. M&E, for it to get strengthened, we need to develop, colleagues, the community of practice for this area, so that the government can have that structure through which they can deal with issues of commissioning evaluation, because those people have got expertise to run with that particular process. And one item that I also included, Advocate, is that one of ensuring that the plan core committees of council need to actually seriously look at the presentation of the planning of the M&E reports, because they actually talking to their strategies that they developed. Thank you very much.
Okay, last follow-up question, Ms. Zugutwane. As you doing conducting monitoring and evaluation, definitely you generate data, and then how can you use that data to inform policy adjustment and improvements?
Thank you very much. As I indicated earlier on, that one of the key principles of M&E is that it is utilization oriented. And I also touched on the fact that it is to assist management and governance to make decisions and evaluate their own plans, you see. So a monitoring and evaluation process is that process that actually make us account for what we have planned, make us evaluate ourselves against what we have planned. I know sometimes there is that feeling that people, when practitioners go and monitor have got that feeling as if they are there for policing. If and only if we can be in a position to understand, no, M&E is there for us to account on the policies that we have developed, whether we have implemented them correctly, and to account on the strategy that we have developed and the plans and projects that we have established, whether we have implemented them as we agreed in terms of our objectives, indicators, and strategic direction. That's basically what I can say.
Thank you very much, and we are done with that panelist. And I hope the plenary is ready during engagement to interrogate further from those presentations, particularly with monitoring and evaluation. For that matter, everything that's going to be presented here by panel, we would love that the session, particularly because remember, the policy is our life and blood of our daily operation in the college. Adherence to policy, implementation of the policy guides us. Thank you. Now I'm taking with Dr. Keza, who will be focusing on data-driven decision-making. Doc, in what ways can data-driven decision-making enhance policy alignment in the TVET sector?
Good morning, Mr. Facilitator. Good morning, my lords. Good morning, my ladies. Thank you very much for the question. Mr. Facilitator, for me to respond to this question, I would want to make a reference to the 3 documents that are well known in the fraternity of the Department of Higher Education and Training. The first document to which I will make reference is called the Norms and Standards for Funding of the TVET Colleges. That is the number 1 document. The second document will be the Post-Provisioning Norms Policy. And the last document will be the Procedure Manual for the implementation of the post-provisioning norms. I just want to indicate, first of all, Mr. Facilitator, that the norms and standards for the funding of the TVET colleges indicate that a student is funded within the context of the TVET provided that the student is an FTE, which means a full-time equivalent. I will explain further. Let us agree what an FTE means. An FTE means an NCV student comes to the college. They are enrolled for 7 subjects. 7 subjects in the NCV space are equal to 1 FTE. So that particular student is funded by the Department of Higher Education and Training, and all is good. When we talk about NATED programs, business studies, 1 FTE is equals to 8 subjects. It means a student must come to register semester 1, business management semester 1, and that student must come again to do N4, 4 subjects. And for the entire year, that particular student is equals to 1 FTE. If a student does N4 and they pass only 3 subjects and they progress to the next level with 3 subjects retaining 1, that particular student is no longer an FTE. Therefore, that student is not funded by the Department of Higher Education and Training. But then we do take into consideration those 3 subjects that are enrolled. It means 1 FTE to be full. It means we will have to find 1 student who is enrolled 1 subject. And then when we combine my 3 subjects together with the next student's 1 subject, both of us are 2 warm bodies, but we are equal to 1 FTE. For the engineering student to become an FTE, that particular student must enroll N4, 4 subjects, N5, 4 subjects, N6, 4 subjects. That is in 1 year. And when that student has been enrolled for 12 subjects, that particular student is equals to 1 FTE. I hope that we are now clear with the FTEs. Let me move now what we do with the FTEs. A group of 30 FTEs are equal to 1 lecturer. It means only at a stage where you have 30 FTEs can the college appoint the first lecturer. If you have 29 FTEs, you do not qualify for 1 lecturer. But I want to explain, colleagues, 30 warm bodies in a class do not necessarily constitute 30 FTEs. It may be that the first student in the NCV is doing 4 subjects, the next one is doing 3. The 2 of them, when you combine, they are equal to 1 FTE, but there are 2 warm bodies. If we do 2, 2, 2, 1, it is 4 warm bodies in a class, but the combination of all of us, we are equal to 1 FTE. So we need to be very careful, colleagues, that when we register and when we appoint lecturers. Now, the group of 30 FTEs, you qualify for 1 lecturer. If you do not have 30 FTEs, then you appoint a lecturer. You act outside the confinements of the policy. And somebody may have to be accountable for that. So I want to make a practical example. If Lovedale TVET College has 100 lecturers or 100 lecturers, it means there must be full 3,000 FTEs. It means there must be 3,000 NCV students doing 7 subjects, all of them. 3,000 for us to appoint 100 lecturers at Lovedale TVET College. You simply multiply lecturer head count by 30, but be careful, not by 30 head counts, but by 30 FTEs. Then you have qualified to appoint a lecturer. Let's now move to the senior lecturer. For the college to appoint 1 senior lecturer, there must be a cohort of 6 lecturers that have been appointed by the college. It means once you have appointed 6 lecturers, you qualify to appoint 1 senior lecturer. It means at the point you register, or rather you appoint 1 senior lecturer, it means each group of, or each lecturer has got 30, 30, 30. It means we are at 180 FTEs for us to appoint 1 senior lecturer. And for the group of 3 senior lecturers, the college qualifies to appoint the first HOD. At that stage, we are at the quantity of 540 FTEs. It means I'm talking about full-time equivalent. So, colleagues, be careful that it does not mean when you have 30 students in a class, that is a class. It may not be a class because it is constituted by the head counts.
Just hang on, Doc.
So, colleagues, when we enroll at Lovedale TVET College, we must enroll on the basis of the full-time equivalents. Then we are safe. I do not know what happens at the colleges where you will find that there are many lecturers, but the FTE enrollment is very low. I'm not the representative of the Department of Higher Education and Training, but I'm just talking a policy. Colleagues, in furtherance of these assertions, it also says for as long as you do not have 600 FTEs, you do not qualify to be a campus. You are considered to be a site or a satellite. The moment you have 600 FTEs, 600 students doing NCV with 7 subjects, you then qualify to be a campus For as long as a campus does not have 600 FTEs, it does not qualify to be a campus. So colleagues, we need to be very careful when we enroll. This thing does not want executive management, but it wants commitment of the lecturers as follows. We all know, colleagues, that the progression rates in the context of the TVET does not gratify all of us. I can make reference to the contemporarily released throughput rates. I think the #1 college was the Waterberg TVET College with the throughput rate of 12.5% throughput rate, colleagues. So it means the average throughput rate of the TVET colleges is around 8%. I think last year it barely increased to 9%, colleagues, so that is throughput rate. So this is actually an indication that in terms of the progression, we are not doing very well as the TVET colleges. Colleagues, we need to improve the government's return on investment by ensuring that students actually pass. What I want to indicate further, colleagues, is that we all know that the students don't progress. Now, if the students were 30 in the class of NCV level 2, at the end of the year, not 30 of them qualify to go to level 3, or not all of them go to level 3 with 7 subjects. You will find that out of the 30, only 25 progress to NCV level 3. For us to balance FTEs, the lecturer teaching NCV level 2 must admit and say, I want to save my job and I want to save my colleague's job. For the shortage of the 5 FTEs that did not progress to NCV level 3, I will no longer enroll 30 students in my class, but I will now enroll 35. Now, the 30 plus the shortage that is in NCV level 3, they are equal to 60. You qualify to have 2 lecturers, and then both lecturers are safe. Similarly, when that group of 25 students progress to NCV level 4, and only 20 progress, 5 are retained in level 3, it means the lecturer who's doing NCV level 2 must then take, for the shortage of 10 FTEs in NCV level 4, will be accommodated in NCV level 2. Because, colleagues, we can actually control enrollments in NCV level 2, but we have minimal control in enrollments in NCV level 3 and NCV level 4. But if lecturers then decide to unionize the lecturer and student ratio, which is still fine, it is their right. But they are actually telling the department that no, because I'm not taking additional 30, or no, because I'm not taking additional 5 FTEs, I'm telling you to get rid of my lecturer. Because if they do not make 30 FTEs in NCV level 4, it is not my business. My business is teaching 30 FTEs because the confinements are, the ratio should be 30:1. If we maintain that, we will not be able to enroll enough FTEs. Chairperson and the facilitator, thank you very much. I've taken a lot of your time.
Okay, Doc. Doc, I just want to put up a follow-up question. You have given a solution on how to deal with data-driven decision making, specifically with the enrollment, FTEs, and all that. But in general, how can we overcome failure to implement a data-driven? What are the challenges of implementing or failing to implement data-driven solutions, general, in the sector? Except the one we have already given solution on this one, general in the sector.
All right, no, thank you very much, facilitator. Let me not necessarily talk about the challenge. I want to talk about what should be done. Yes. And then it will automatically solve that particular challenge. Colleagues, We need to be very careful when we draft our strategic plan, our 5-year strategic plan. That is an indication of where we are, where we want to go, and what it is that we want to achieve. The numbers that we put in the strategic plan must automatically translate to the APP, as well as what we call the funding grid, all right? Once you punch numbers in the funding grid will automatically tell you that if you enroll 4 students in NCV, how many FTEs you have actually registered. When you punch numbers under N4, business studies, it will automatically indicate to you how many FTEs so far you have been able to register. And I think the labor forum meetings must then come forth to say, in what ways can we save the jobs of all members, or rather of all staff at the TVET College? Colleagues, this thing does not only affect lecturers. I really want to emphasize that it also overlaps to the support staff. The PPN document also says for the ratio between lecturers and the support staff is 1:0.75. It means for each 1 lecturer, you must appoint 0.75 support staff. Let me put it in real numbers. When you have appointed 4 lecturers, you qualify to appoint 3 support staff. Support staff is everybody that is employed through PESAL, but they are not having contact with students in terms of teaching and learning. They are not in the classroom. That will be the student support manager, the assistant director for placement, the principal secretary or the PA, the bursary officer, everybody who is in the general worker, as long as they are employed. Colleagues, we need to be careful. So we cannot have a situation where we have 50 lecturers and we have 50 support staff. If you do it like that, you are acting outside confinements of the policy. So we need to sit down in the labor forum and say, how many lecturers do we have at Lovedale TVET College? But colleagues, we also need to be careful that it is not the matter of increasing our FTEs and saying, no, next year we are now at 2,000 students, let us enroll 4,000. We don't do it like that. The college must write a letter to the office of Mr. Gaza, I think that is the relevant person, and request for permission. Remember, colleagues, for this year, I want to make an example. I do not know your NSFAS allocation. I do not know how much it is. So let's say, well, I will give an irregular fee. Let's say your allocation from the NSFAS for 2025 academic year is 100 Rand, 100 Rand. And then you decide to over-enroll. It means many students will qualify as bursary recipients, but the total amount of their tuition will exceed the maximum allocation from the NSFAS. It means automatically you will have a situation where 20 students have qualified, but not all of them have received tuition fees. It means the college must then go out to look for money outside the space of the NSFAS to fund those students with whom we have over-enrolled. The best way is to indicate to the office of Mr. Gaza that given, or rather seeing the appetite of our college or the number of our employees in terms of the lecturers, we think that we can be able to enroll these numbers. Like I'm saying, if you are 100, it must be 3,000 FTEs. But colleagues, I'm not saying get rid of the students who did not pass 7 out of 7 subjects. I think it will articulate to what I am also here for, online teaching and learning. Colleagues, if those students who could not make it can be taken to the, because remember that some of them do not require to be in the workshops, they already have the ISET. ISET is valid for 3 academic years, as we know, or 3 academic examinations, right? So they do not have to do an ISET. You just have to support them to progress to the next level. We do online, colleagues. Lecturers must say, no, let those students not come to the college. We will teach them while they are still at home. When they have progressed with 7 out of 7 subjects, they then come back to the college as the full FTEs. Then you are safe as the lecturer. But colleagues, I'm not leveling criticisms against anybody. I'm not talking my opinion. I'm not talking my thoughts. I am talking a policy as legislated in black and white by the Department of Higher Education and Training. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Now, colleagues who are taking the last panelist, Ms. Kumalo will be focusing on capacity building. Ms. Kumalo, how can capacity building initiatives ensure policy alignment in the sector?
Okay, thank you, colleagues. I think my panelist is giving me a better chance because they've answered some of the points. And the doctor himself has explained the policy. If it's not a living document, what are the consequences? So I'm coming from the Department of Higher Education. As my colleague is saying that we are a department, we're in a country, and we are part of the world, which he mentioned conventions and mandates that look at us as a country and also internationally. So as Lovedale is in Eastern Cape, Lovedale is in South Africa, and Lovedale is in Africa, and then Lovedale is also part of the world. So it means policies of the world, policies of this continent, and policies of this department, and other departments Lovedale must adhere to. So it means it's very important that we capacitate all stakeholders in Lovedale and also those that surround Lovedale, as I mentioned, in the country and outside the country. When we say all stakeholders, we're not speaking only about management. We're speaking about the groundsman, the security, the admin, the students, the community surrounding the student. The industry must also understand the policies as well. And also your council members, they are there, and all of those council members are coming from different walks of life. So they are there, they are mandated by the minister to uphold all the policies and the acts and the bills in our constitution and all our convocations and also our mandates. So you're asking me how can it be effective? Let me just give you several key components that you can look into. Training and education. I'm saying this because most institutions, they are not transparent. They're always there to catch someone, or they're there to police, and then they are there to either gatekeep. So we need to train everybody. When I'm talking about training, induction is very important. You must be able to share who you are, your vision, your mission as an institution, and you must also share and tell people that Lovedale is not just in Eastern Cape. Lovedale is not only in the area of East London. Lovedale is one of the 50 colleges. So what if Lovedale doesn't do 1, 2, 3, it affects the whole country. So it means when everybody is within your walls, if they trained and educated about all policies, example, the one that Dr. Keza was sharing, it means in your KPIs, in your plans, it will constantly remind you of why you're there. Particularly our clients, because our performance is measured by academic results. It's like in a plant, if the the ignition doesn't go on, the battery is flat, that means that car must just be rejected or put somewhere. In our case, it's academic performance. If these students are not performing, it basically means none of us did our job. And none of us deserve the pay that we're receiving. Because all the policies that are aligned to ensure that gear or that engine is running, some of those engine parts are not working, which means some of those students, they need us to do something about it. So if the workforce is built up with knowledge and skills, then policy implementation is more easier. This includes your technical training, your leadership development. Leadership development is not only for senior management. It must seep through to junior staff and to the client as well. And also institutional strengthening. This is one of the activities that you're doing now, colleagues, which is having this event. This is strengthening who you are as an institution. You saw your gaps, now you want to improve. And the nice thing about it, you didn't just look into yourselves. You asked every stakeholder that came into these doors to give input and highlight how can you improve your systems. And also resource mobilization. You need to ensure you've got adequate financial, human, and technological resources to ensure that your policies succeed. He mentioned if you don't have the money, what other policies are affected. So it means your number one policy you should consider if this institution is actually having more students that are not academically performing. It means that now you have to look at your pre-entry policies because they affect other policies and other implementation in your college. And then collaboration and partnerships. Lovedale is not an island, as I mentioned. Lovedale is part of a bigger community inside Eastern Cape, even outside Eastern Cape. So you need to call people that know things that you don't know to come in and assist you. Don't suffer in silence, because there is always a solution to a challenge. It might take longer, but a solution is there, and there must be will to change. And it means that each and every person in the institution must change, and bad habits must die. So this means collaboration fosters knowledge, sharing, innovation, and collective problem solving. So we've got unions, we've got all type of people that are stakeholders. Unions and labor are not just there to pinpoint. They are there for them to show us our challenge and move us to the solution, because labor is part of us as well, for example. And then she spoke about monitoring and evaluation. You need to build a robust system. Do you have these policies? Do your policies mirror the department's policies? Does the policies of the department mirror its sister policies or sister department policies? Does it also mirror what the UN and also the AU and all the mandated policies that we have as a country, either as a member state or participating state? Do we mirror those policies? That's also introspection that must come in. Then we must monitor. When we put things, like for example, our constitution, the nicest policy that every country always says South Africa is the best constitution, but we know we live in South Africa. Are we monitoring it? Are we actually evaluating? Are we happy with it? Are we actually implementing what this constitution is saying? Do we know the loopholes? Are we fixing it? So imagine that constitution become the constitution of your college. How many loopholes are you facing every day? How many challenges? But you have a plan. You wrote this nice document, but are you living that document, or are you making that document alive? That's where she spoke about a culture of accountability. So if you lose 5 rand, and if you're a finance clerk, you're accountable for that 5 rand. If you're a student and you lose the PPE that you're allocated to, you were given, that costs money, you're accountable. So it means you must replace it because you were given. And also when you're given this tuition fees as a student, your responsibility is to pass. That is your accountability. When you're a lecturer and you're given students that are 30 in your class, you're accountable for 100% pass. If you're a principal, you're accountable for people within your college. You're also accountable for the community that surrounds you, and you're also accountable. You are put there by DHET. It means you have to role model DHET, and you also have to role model even presidency and beyond. And leadership development, colleagues, is very important. Everybody in an institution is a leader. Yes, somebody monitors you, somebody's a supervisor, but you need to supervise yourself. You are in an institution by admission, by registration, or you came in by interview, you came in by nomination, but you are in there. You're considered a leader of yourself, you're considered a leader in a group, and it means that you are part of a team. So it means in this guiding policies or how to capacitate your people, they need to lead themselves, to be responsible for equipment, responsible for money, responsible for their time spent in the office. No loitering and coming on Monday, smelling of those things you did on Friday and the weekend. Or deciding to sleep while students are waiting for you to be in class. Or that student is deciding to sleep and not submit. So all those little things and habits also are barriers to policy execution. And this means that strong leadership from the top to the bottom is affected. So your policy can look very nice, good English, but if it's not a walking document, then it means all levels of government and community involvement has been stalled because people that are allocated to mirror or implement the policies have stopped that. So that's why it's very important, colleagues, to look at that. And knowledge management, he spoke about data. Data mirrors results. Data also gives us a picture of how far we are. And also manage information. You need to be transparent in your information, yes. And there's also confidentiality, you know, the POPI Act. And also these numbers must be accurate, colleagues. Don't lie. He was speaking about 1:30. Some of you will say there is 15 people in the class, but there is 30 souls. What happened to the other 15 that you're... So it means they're ghosts. We've got ghost employees, ghost students, ghost managers. There's a lot of ghosts. So knowledge management must be accurate. When it's shared and given to somebody else, you must account. So if you sign it off, it means your principal has signed it off. And if the department, our DDG, signs it off, it means the DG has signed it off. Then AG will come in and say, DHET is this, because Lovedale and the other sister campuses said there are 1,000 students while there are 500 students. So please learn from past experiences, and by looking that is looking at your knowledge management. Sustainability planning is very important. You can't plan for 2 months, but you overlook the future. And when you think about the future, you must also sustain what you planned in the beginning. So what happened in Lovedale in the past shouldn't be just disregarded. It must be taken as a lesson. So all the policies that you have, that's why you got Vision 2, that's why you review, that's why you consult, that's why you have annexures, addendums, because you didn't disregard your first page. You've added page 10. So it means that you're sustaining your plan. You're removing or adding or maneuvering your plan. So ensuring capacity is very continuous. I know some of you might be short-tempered. Some of you want change now, but change takes time and patience. So that's what I can say, facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kumalo. And I think now we have come to the end of the presentations of the panelists. Time, colleagues, is a little bit against us. I just want to open the session for engagement. Then later on, I'll come back to the panelists just to summarize or flag up some few points. Can I open the floor to any member of the panel from the floor? Before we go to D. One, two this side. Nobody here. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3 here. In that order. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. The roving mic. Gentlemen there from If it's a comment, short. If it's a question, short and to the point.
Oh, thank you so much, Comrade Program Director. I'm going to ask the question. I'm not sure it's going to maybe going to Doctor because it's very important what he has said about the lecturer ratio, learner ratio. But I'm going to ask my question in two ways. I'm going to ask the question on the side of the learner, because I was a learner before, and I still have a learner in class affected by the very same situation. Doctor, you are saying, I heard the issue of the FETs. Now I want you to clarify me, what about a learner in your NCV who's got all the four or all the other subjects, but is owing one, but that learner still qualified to go to the next semester finalization of that particular, I'm going to say, certificate, whatever that program is. You know that is your situation. Then the other leg to it is there's a facilitator, learner, and we spoke yesterday about the triple S and all of that. We know that when a learner performs bad, unless we live in another country, we live in South Africa, we should be able to know that a learner can perform bad either because of social conditions, which are tantamount or affected by the availability of NFSAS and all that, and if you get what I mean. Lecturer comes to class, is hungry and all of those other things. And you are saying, I don't hear when you're saying that learner who performs so bad, and then he's got maybe he passed 3 and then it failed another, because we're looking at all the academic performance. We're not looking at now the issue of the social factors causing the learner to fail and all that. If that learner must be funded. I don't know if you get my question. So I'm looking at those two legs here. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to support my doctor. You're speaking about academic support in this situation, because no student must leave the campus without, as you're saying, academic performing. I know NSFAS gives a second opportunity, especially to exiting students. If you're in level 4 or N6, and you have just this one pending subject. But within, like your junior levels, no. But when you're in level 4 and you have this pending, you are given that other year to ensure that you complete. So it's there. And you're speaking about the academic support. So even if the student is given financial support, but what about the academic support? It means that now the institution must make plans to assist the student, either extra classes or a lecturer that will support that student in order for them to pass. In the FETs, as he's saying, remember the department funds a student 80% when they come in. Then the other 20 is the one if you can pay for yourself or you ask NSFAS to assist you to make the 100. So it's 80 plus 20. For those that are getting NSFAS, it means that the government is supporting you 100%, because NSFAS is government. All this money is coming from Treasury, one pot. So that 20% is the 27% that is stalling because now this person is not progressing. But in our framework of admission policy, it says you can fail twice. Let's say this year and that year, but you must complete all your, but you cannot always be failing. Then it means the exclusion comes now, academic exclusion. So it means now the institution can decide to enroll you or deregister you because you have not fulfilled. So you get a second chance, but a third and the fourth is very unlikely because, as you were sharing, that 100% cost will have to be a debt that must be carried by the institution. But your social services or your student support and the lecturers must support the students to progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Komalo. My brother?
Thank you, Advocate Mkaleli, and good morning to everyone. My question is around the funding grid. We have now moved to the online applications, and we see the number of applications that we receive every year is on the rise. But you find that the amount allocated to colleges on the funding grid seems to be on the decrease. Now, this means that we take fewer and fewer new students because we have this cohort that is with us already, and we have a number of applicants who we cannot accept because of the funding grid. Now, how do we then, try to mitigate this situation where you've got a lot of applicants and we can only take a certain number of students due to the funding grid? Thank you very much.
Okay, Doc.
All right, thank you very much, facilitator. Let me start with the funding grid one. Colleagues, I'm not from TVET. I will not talk on behalf of the TVET, but I know what the TVET does. The TVET normally checks your historical data. They will check over the period of the past 3 years how you have been enrolling FTEs. And then with the overall impression over the period of past 3 years, they give you the numbers, or rather they give you an allocation that you will put in the funding grid in terms of the student numbers, right? But it means if the TVET continuously reduces your COE budget, which is the compensation of the employee's budget, as well as the number of students in the funding grid, it means you have not been enrolling FTEs, but you have been enrolling headcounts. So it means if you check the quantity of students per headcounts, you are happy, you see a lot of students, but each student is doing one subject. Now, the 7 students are equal to 1 student, but we have a lot of students. It means the manner in which you have been registering as the college is giving an impression to the TVET that I am unable to meet the FTE target. That is why from time to time, colleagues, per enrollment time period, the TVET wants the college to report on headcounts against FTEs. We have done it now. We have also reported, we have already reported how many headcounts we have registered and how many FTEs out of those headcounts we have. The TVET is already preparing your funding grid for 2028 academic year. So if you are not meeting the targets now in terms of the FTEs, you already tell TVET that in 2028, reduce my funding grid. And if your funding grid is low, it means your COE budget goes down. COE budget means compensation of employees. That is why your PESAL budget that pays lecturers was 42 million in 2022. It has suddenly gone to 39. No, it is not TVET. It is how you have been enrolling. But you will see that if you go to the next sister college, their funding grid is going up. It means their COE budget was 39 million. All of a sudden, TVET has put it to 45 million. It is according to how they have been registering. So if you want to correct that situation today, you must then take a decision that as early as now for trimester 2, we are going to decide strongly and put our foot down that we cater for the FTEs first. And for the remaining students, lecturers must talk among themselves that let us form partnership with Lephalale TVET College or Goldfields TVET College. They are there. Let us do online teaching and learning. And for these surplus students, you cater them online, but you know that in your full-time classes, colleagues, if lecturers don't assist management in terms of the decision-making, colleagues, and if you over-unionize things, I'm sorry, I'm not stepping on your toes. I'm trying to protect your employees, right? But if they don't say, we want to enroll more students. And colleagues, I want to tell you something. If you enroll 30 students, I know students, at the end of February, they drop out. You now have 29 students. 29 students, if you have already appointed a lecturer, you must get rid of that lecturer. If you keep that lecturer, you continue acting outside confinements of the law. Somebody will be accountable for that. All right, I'm done with question 1. So let me come to question of 6 subject. Colleagues, it is many disadvantages if students don't progress with full subjects. It is many disadvantages. I like the idea that the student was doing NCV level 2. They passed 6. According to the progression policy as given by the DHET and legislated accordingly, the student who has passed minimum of 5 is allowed to progress, right? Now, this student progressed. And this student is doing the course we call ERD, Engineering and Related Design. The total tuition fee, 18,000, right? If that particular student has dropped that one subject, and that subject's tuition fees is 3,000, it means when the college claims money from the NSFAS, they cannot claim 18 million as full. Or no, they cannot claim 18,000 for that student as full tuition fee. They have to claim 15,000 because previously they have already funded that 3,000. That is why year in, year out, NSFAS tells colleges, return back the money. That money was supposed to belong to the student who was supposed to progress with 7 subjects to the next level, but then they progressed with 5. So we only claimed for them 12,000, and then we say, NSFAS, we are gonna return to you 6,000 for that particular student. But if all students progress with 7 subjects, we know that if tuition fees is 18,000 that has been allocated according to the funding grid, that also informs the NSFAS. We know that we are going to claim all that particular money. And then, colleagues, even if a student has been allowed to progress, in terms of the norms and standards for funding of the TVET colleges, although that student has actually progressed, they are not yet full FTE. You must find another student who's doing one subject, combine their subjects, then they are equal to 1 FTE. That is why I'm saying the lecturers, that is where the lecturers come in to say, I am aware that my lecturer or my fellow colleague in NCV level 3 is in short of 2 more FTEs to qualify as a lecturer or to qualify for the appointment. I am therefore taking a decision to take 2 more students in my NCV level 2 just to compensate for the shortage in the high classes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Ms. Tagi, the injury time, we need just 10 minutes to share among the 3 speakers, and then we close and we go for tea.
Thank you, facilitator. The first one is just a comment and a word of caution, because I know for a fact we spoke about the M&E. I think colleges must stop this tendency, if not tendency, is the culture of compliance. It's a nice document, they do it nicely, but just for compliance purposes, they don't implement it. It's not the only one though. Even the APP is the same culture, same tendency. Now, the last question, Chairperson, I want to direct it to Department of Higher Education. You spoke of education and training and also spoke about induction. I know it has been happening in my time, and I don't know now, that you appoint lecturers, you appoint principals. Do you induct them? Do you educate them? Or you just throw them in the deep to swim or sink? I know the rest of management of the college is the prerogative of the college. But this department, they employ principal, they fail, they then fire them and then put somebody again. Instead of enacting them, educating them, mentoring them until they become the best principals, because this institution, they depend on the leadership of the college. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Induction is important, as I said, in all levels. And in the department, we've got different branches and different responsibilities. As a leader or one of the principals, they're considered senior managers. We've got HRD, which is department, because all of you are also under DHT. Did you know that? So everything you do, even your PESAL, you are my staff member. So it means we are all in one HRD unit in DHT. Lecturers are sort of special because they have my unit, which is lecturer development and support. It means that they've got HRD plus a TVET HRD sort of, to ensure that they have all the support and get induction and capacitated. In leadership, as you're saying, principals also have an organization, which is SACPO. One of the principals or the composition or the roles of that institution is also provide capacity building and support for principals. We have a DDG who is responsible for the whole TVET branch. In his system, he's got branch, and also he was speaking about Mr. Gaza. Mr. Gaza is a director of a unit that looks at governance. That one looks at your strategic plans, your leadership, and also even councils are inducted inside that unit under TVET. But the person or the person in the department that is responsible for induction of all personnel is HRD. So what you are mentioning, it is one of the loopholes in our policy, as you're saying, as a personnel. And I believe if there's resolutions of this sitting, one of those must reach that unit that they need to support. We cannot allow our principal to be taken into the system and just waiting for them to fail and fire them. So that's one of, I think, bolded statement, because if we don't support the head, it's obviously the body and the legs and even the feet won't function in the institution.
Thank you, Ms. Kumela. The next speaker.
Good morning, everybody. My question is related to the funding norms and standard of TVET colleges. The TVET colleges are fully funded by the Department of Higher Education and Training. Now, I would assume that the organizational structure, as the doctors alluded, the organizational structure of a TVET college is established based on the FTEs, which is 1:30 students. Now, the fact that the CET Act states that council can appoint additional staff members to the structure that has been approved by the Department of Higher Education and Training. So my question is, given the autonomy to the council to appoint, where will the college source funding to appoint and pay those additional staff members? And what criteria then do colleges apply in appointing of those additional staff members? Thank you.
Doc.
All right, no,
Norms
thank
and
you.
standards.
Thank you very much, facilitator. No, I really welcome that particular question. Colleagues, remember that the DHET is the umbrella of all the TVET colleges, and the councils are appointed on the basis of assisting the Department of Higher Education and Training to enforce policy implementation. So even where we have the colleagues paid by the college, or rather from the college payroll, they are still subjected to the norms and standards of the funding of the TVET colleges and the PPN document. But then, in an instance where the college realizes that in our community there is a need to urgently implement this particular skill, then the college council can take a decision to appoint a lecturer. But the norms and but the staff establishment procedures and protocols are still applicable. We cannot create our own entity outside confinements that have been legislated by the Department of Higher Education and Training. So even if the college council appoints, the deputy principal for corporate services must still enforce what has been legislated by the Department of Higher Education and Training. And the council itself must say, we are here to assist the Department of Higher Education and Training to enforce policy implementation. And colleagues, these things of staff establishment, colleagues, must not be taken light. From time to time, I am watching the Parliament news. There is a contemporary tendency for the Committee on Higher Education to invite college principals to come to account. Colleagues, it is not a nice process. One day, colleagues, we will be invited as Lovedale TVET College, and the question will be, number one, Deputy Principal for Corporate Services, are you advising the principal in terms of the post-establishment norms, standards, and protocols? If the answer is yes, they want you to bring Coltech MIS manager and say, look at 2025 academic year. It is 4,000 headcounts. These 4,000 headcounts articulate to 3,000 FTEs. That is why we have 100 lecturers in our college. Colleagues, if we have 100 lecturers, but your FTEs are somewhere low there, colleagues, it will not be a nice exercise when we are accountable. And we know what happens in South Africa. Commissions are established 5 years down the line when everybody has actually forgotten. They call you to say, you remember you were at this college 5 years ago. You must now tell us what happened. Why did you have 150 lecturers with so little FTEs at the college? What did you do? And, there is a tendency nowadays to hold managers individually accountable for the money. They do not say, no, it's the college. They will say, no, manager, you failed to implement that particular policy. You are individually accountable for payment of that particular money, and you will pay that money, colleagues. So it is not a thing that we should take simple. The Labor Relations Forum must help us as the deputy principals, corporate, academic, to be inside the confinements of the law. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay, Doc, before you put down, Doc, I should think the question is about the source of funding for section 20, subsection 1B of the City Act. Where do that money comes from? That's the question. Okay.
Okay. There are two staff members in the college, and there are two places to get money from. One is treasury. All of us, if you got PESA, and obviously, and what he was sharing about where the pot comes from. If it doesn't make sense, treasury obviously lowers salaries or make sure that you get what you deserve for your output. Then he spoke about college council lecturers. College council lecturers are not taken from the pot of PESA because our own DHT HR sees your unique numbers, but they're not PESA employees, which means they're not officially DHT, but they are college council, means it's your college. So it's like a private company. sort of. That's why we've got contracts 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 1 month. Ne? That money is usually sometimes fundraised by your own college. It's either your college is doing business or you have funding from other stakeholders. Then that's why when Usont yesterday was speaking that the college must not only just take from the government, must also have different pots. Sometimes projects comes with funding. Let's say CETA, NSF, there's a project. It comes in with the money to pay the facilitator. It's not necessary the college paying the person, but they put the money inside either the pot of the college, or they have to prove that this person has done a certain service. Then that money is put into, obviously allocated to their accounts. But there are 2 pots of getting from the government and also donor funding. So that's the difference. Your unique 1, 2, 3 and my PESAL number, that differentiates me and you and where the money comes from. But all of these people are under the council. The council, when you see a council member, see the minister's face, because that person is appointed by the minister. They must ensure that from Treasury, her department and other departments, they upheld. So I think that's what it is. So the money is the college, and the college is part of DHT. They will account for any money that comes in or goes out of an institution.
Thank you. The last speaker, and then we close the session.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Mine probably goes to almost all the panelists, but Dr. Keza is the point person. First, let's appreciate the presentations and the submissions. They were quite informative. But I'm interested in this thing of throughput, the low throughput. That's why I'm saying that it encompasses all the panelists, because there's a monitoring and evaluation framework involved, there's capacity building involved, and the program designs and so on. So what do you think could probably be the leading cause of this low throughput? And what could be our role as social partners? Because we understand our relationship is that we need each other and we need to participate in holding the ball. But what could be our possible role? Because if we are here celebrating the 200 years, the bicentenary of Lovedale, and Lovedale, legacy is rich of students that were conscious in terms of their participation and community problems and so on. Is there a way, perhaps, that a curriculum design yetu, because part of what was said yesterday as well was that we must discover niche and so on and so on, so on. Sirane nayo as Lovedale College. So now my question would be now, in terms of recognizing all of that reality, what could be a collective responsibility that we can claim a share, perhaps as social partners, to say, nahansi a problem, in terms of, because lending education, the curriculum content, it seems like a burden. Lendo is students drop out, it therefore means there's a gap, not only a class in, but even in communities as well, roles abazali and so on. So lendo nditi ndikhalela nje uyiva in terms of what could be the leading cause of the low throughput and what could be our role as a social partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to say my own part regarding my understanding. Yesterday, I was actually chatting to one of the comrades in the conference and saying, but colleagues, you are really not assisting us as the unions. The scenario that the colleges are sitting with, no matter how good systems of teaching and learning that the college has established, but a current challenge, you can find it in research reports, you can find it everywhere, is that the current cohort of lecturers is not so interested in using those online systems in supporting the very learner. It's like during strike periods, there's absolutely no need for lecturers to wait for the principal to announce to say, college closed, now you're gonna supply the students with tasks by the time they are away from the college. You see, there's systems, colleges have got systems like, the Microsoft system is a very rich system. There's also that system in, remind me, advocate. Moodle. It's a very good system. You know, colleges literally beg lecturers to utilize this system. They have to come with decisions to say, hey man, let's find a way. How can we pin down the lecturers to actually fully utilize those systems? You see? Kandi as a systems are systems of supporting the very lecturer and the very student to find information and study wherever he or she is. You see? The same applies to the issue of lecturer placement. Some other colleges, fortunately, do have policies discussing tariffs that must be given to lecturers for them when they get placed. But still, it is not so easy for lecturers to accept those placements during holidays, which therefore means colleges have got to get some kind of funding from where it will come, whereby they can be, if we can't negotiate the issue of lecturers going on holidays and not crying about their own family time, then somehow there must be funding, whereby if that placement is for a particular period, 3 months or so, or whatever kind of period, there is money of a full-time lecturer that will be taking the baton going forward. So okay, the consequences, if we can discuss along those lines to say, let's rake funding. In fact, even during the planning periods, our department clearly stipulates that colleges don't blame us for your non-growth because you are semi-autonomous. You are able to rake a lot of money. Go find money and increase your enrollment so that you can be able to have additional staff, additional students, additional income. I usually say to colleagues, you are so reluctant to come up with a funding grid that is above the norm of the proposed funding by the ACT. But come organizational structures that are developed, you will not be in a position to get better posts if you don't grow as a college. So the UTACT, in a funding grid that reflects RED, expect just 2 answers in a college. If you have over-enrolled in the funding grid, they will ask you, how are you gonna resource the over-enrollment in terms of the physical structure, in terms of lecturing, in terms of teaching and learning material. That's just what they need. If you are in the feedback letter able to respond, no, the enrollment will be resourced in this particular one, in this manner, you name it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. UTACT will actually look into that and say, oh, okay, as long as you know how the bloated numbers above what we can fund, you will be able to actually resource. So that's why you find sometimes we've got colleges with 13,000 and more in terms of enrollments. It's because they can be able to substantiate themselves as to how they're going to be dealing with that enrollment that they have planned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yukutwane. I should thank colleagues who have come to the end of this session. The session has been long, and the program director, I'm sorry, I have defaulted, but I want to thank you, my panelists. You have outlined the issue of policy alignment. I should think every delegate here exactly knows where we stand and what we can do to close the gap. We are going for tea, and then we will be going to e-breakaway sessions there too. But I'll call again the program director, Nick, just to emphasize who's after tea, where do we go? Just a reminder. Thank you, panelists. You can step down and have tea. mind them. Okay. We can just sit down just for a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I think the panelists and the facilitator have really done justice to the session. I'm sure you'll all agree with me that the quality of inputs, the standard was very, very high. They've set the right tone for this day. So today is going to be a very exciting day because the standard is very high. Can we just give them another round of applause?